Right now, people are logging in. We'll give everyone a couple of minutes. We will let you know now that we have one planned, another webinar planned for January 13th. What we're doing a little bit different this time is if you go down to the bottom of your screen in the middle, you'll see polls. If you click on that, there are a couple of questions. If you wouldn't mind filling that out, we'd like to get a feeling what's going on in your church. The first question is, are you planning or have you already started a year-end appeal? And if you have, number two, then what percentage of your budget do you hope to raise at that time? We'd like to get those results and share them with you. So today, our agenda for the webinar is planning for an end of the year ask. Why now? What maybe your goal should be or could be. How to avoid failure, timing of the appeal, using technology and social media, specific action steps that you can get started on today, and coordinating with the church capital campaign. This is an interactive webinar. We want you to chat in the chat box, ask us questions, and share those slides as well. And we like to hear from you. We can learn from you, and others can learn from your experiences as well. So at the end, you'll be able to share these slides and the presentation. In about 24 hours, we'll have the presentation recorded and we'll email that out to you, those who attended and those who maybe signed up but weren't able at the last minute to attend. And then thirdly, we'll put it on our YouTube page as well. And there is how you can share those, as well as forwarding the email. And let's go ahead and get started. It looks like everyone has signed on. So this is brought to you by Church Development. We founded in 1992. Our mission is to increase generosity in churches without fundraising. Over 200 million in churchical capital campaigns have been raised and over 800 million in annual stewardship giving to ministries. And how we are different from other capital campaign consultants. It's based in scripture, based in 30 years of both research and experience. The ask is based in prayer, not pressure. We typically see increased weekly giving for 3 years after a capital campaign. And planned giving program begins after the capital campaign. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 10 tells us, like good stewards of the manifold grace of God, serve one another with whatever gift each of you has received. And that is the basis of what we do. We're going to hear from Dennis Green today. He has over 30 years experience. He's raised over $200 million for over 100 clients. He is a husband, a father, a cancer survivor. He's an author of the book, Stewardship System, How to Increase Generosity Without Fundraising, and he's published research as well. Next, we're going to hear from Daryl Prater. He's a senior consultant at Church Development. He's been with church ministry or involved in church ministry for over 30 years. He's passionate about leading churches to achieve their spiritually focused stewardship goals, and he is a volunteer church choir member and orchestra director as well. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll hear from Dennis. Take it away.
Hey, thanks, Stephanie. Thanks so much for joining us. We're broadcasting today live from the Vatican, and this is my office. You see in the background, I've got the lights on just to eliminate the brilliant insights that you will receive today. And Daryl, being the most productive member of our team, is coming to you from his home studio. Daryl, how art thou?
Hey, I'm doing great, Dennis. Not as extravagant here in Overland Park as it is there, but nonetheless, glad to be a part of the call today. It's exciting to talk about how we can help churches with the year-end ask.
It is exciting, and I don't want to look at it as it is free money, but the way I look at a year-end ask, if you don't do a good job with year-end ask, you're leaving money on the table. So much money is given away to nonprofit organizations in the final 30 days of the year. It has become part of our collective consciousness. Alexis de Tocqueville, over 100 years ago, recognized Americans as being a most generous culture and just needing the stimulation for giving is being the most important component. So the ask is the most important thing. Now, on your screen, I'm hoping that you are seeing our survey about the year-end appeal. Daryl, is it appearing on your screen as well? Okay, you're on mute, Daryl, my good man.
Yes, it is.
It is.
The
Okay,
survey
so,
is on the screen.
okay, so if you could take a moment and just click through and let us know your answers to these questions, I'd be very appreciative. And we will incorporate that as we go. So we got a couple goals that we want to talk about. And they're more than just monetary goals. Since managing a church is really leading a faith community, it's got to be more than about just money. So we want to be a servant to those who are our members. Number 3, we're going to talk about the common points of failure. And my son is a big fan of Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris advice for success is, number 1, figure out what does not work. And then number 2, don't do that. That's good advice. So we'll talk about the common failures in year-end giving. We'll get very specific on number 4 and the timing of your year-end appeal. We've got some gifts for you under number 5, gifts in terms of insights, how to use technology to facilitate year-end giving. And we've got a real bonus for you as well that I'm never going to say the word magic, but it just generates such generosity amongst your top donors. It's just mind-boggling. And number 6, we will cover specific annual steps all the way through today's presentation. Now, since we at Church Development, our whole life is running church capital campaigns, and we are with each church that we serve for 3 years after their capital campaign. And one of the ways that we earn our pay is by managing the year-end appeal for our churches. So in a way, you get a church capital campaign for free because we raise so much money in our year-end appeals, and we do that very deliberately with no additional charge. But we really want to make sure that your year-end appeal and your annual pledge stewardship offertory effort don't collide with your church capital campaign. We value so highly that weekly offertory, that regular giving. We never want to do anything to endanger that. So the coordination between your church capital campaign, your annual stewardship effort, and then the year-end giving, we want to be highly sensitive to that. So I like our comprehensive approach. And there's another 4th ask that we do that we don't want to collide, and that is planned giving, where we encourage people to remember the church and their estate plans. And since the growth, the rise in value of the stock market, we feel like we really need to address that deliberately, because you in the church have potential for receiving pretty significant gifts of assets that we need to pursue. But that is a topic for another webinar. So let's leap into action. About 30% of all giving happens to nonprofit organizations in the month of December. And if you don't do anything, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Now, just think back to the last couple of weeks. How many mailings have you received in your mailbox at home, physical mailings, asking you to make a year-end gift? Yesterday, I opened 5 of them in one single day. Everybody on this call is going to receive probably 5 a day for the next 30 days. It's crazy how much solicitation we get. And think of your emails as well. Now, this does not hurt you. This helps you. Now, it helps to if there's a lot of asking goes on, there's a heightened level of awareness about giving. We're not really in a competitive world. More giving equates to more giving. The average person gives to 5 different nonprofit organizations. If they're active in a church, about half their total giving goes to their church. Then they select 4 other charities that they like, that they give to throughout the year. The rule of thumb is to do 4 different asks per year. this year-end ask is critical. And it even skews towards the end. 10% of all giving comes in the final 3 days of the year. In the old days, people would write a check in January and date it back in December so they could count it as a previous year-end gift. It's kind of because of that, January is not at the bottom of giving months. January is like a second strata. It's almost as good as December. So it's okay. This heightened level of asking causes a great deal of giving in December, and then it splashes over into January as well. So the ask, we use the letter to kind of frame the ask, and it's key to engaging both the consistent supporters as well as the irregular attendees of your church. So don't just think your money is going to come in from the people you see all the time. We want to address the less than active folks, which those numbers are unfortunately on the increase. Statistically, we no longer think that the average person attends every Sunday 4 Sundays per month. It's now 2 or a bit under 2 Sundays per month. So it's crazy. So in thinking about timing, we always recommend that you do your annual stewardship effort in the fall around, in the month of November, a commitment Sunday. So please try and wrap up your follow-up requests to make pledges before the middle of December. Now, we know that the most faithful regular givers are active and they respond right away. But, our enemy is just the stack of bills. Everybody has got a stack of bills they need to attend to, and frequently the pledge card goes in there and they forget. So we want to wrap up our asking related to the annual stewardship campaign before they get the year-end ask. So as you're planning for next year, just have that mentally in your mind. Wrap it up so that we can move on easily. I like a Christmas card arriving early in December, as early as we can after the annual campaign concludes. I like having a piece of paper. I open it, I see the Christmas message from my pastor in there, and I like having the ask in there with some real easy instructions. That please count on your video ask going out before and after Christmas. Sometimes they get lost in the swamp of many, many emails, but frequently we have a dead time after Christmas, where after we have enjoyed the celebration of Christmas Day with worship, with gifts, family traditions, big meals, and then there's some downtime where people will peruse their emails again and their cards again when they have a bit of downtime sitting around the fire having a cup of eggnog. So we want to have that before and after. You have your worship. It turns out Christmas Eve is more highly attended than Christmas Day in most churches, usually by a significant portion. So plan that ask for your all Christmas worship experiences. People love seeing Christmas pictures on social media. So plan your Christmas decorations. You have so many opportunities. Meredith on our staff has put together the varieties of social media experiences you can employ to talk about Christmas at church, and always have a little link on there. Click here to make a Christmas gift to your church. It can just be a sentence, but it's got to be easy. And then to emphasize on those last 3 days, please send a text. We know that the open rate on text is over 98% within 90 seconds. So they might have gotten 10 messages about please make a year-end Christmas gift to your church. And they might skip and forget. And then on the 31st, you send out a message to say, this is the last moment. Please click here to give your year-end gift to your church. So it's a very intense month. And really the planning for that should start a year in advance and be implemented starting right now. Now, I'm going to move on to setting goals, but I also want to tap Daryl Prater, my coworker for more than 10 years, who has probably raised $100 million in his church capital campaigns. And right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Daryl, but I think you are working on 3 year-end campaigns at the moment. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. Right.
Okay.
It's kind of the season.
Okay. And I remember the most interesting thing that I heard you talk about for the year-end appeal is you have one church that is doing nothing through the mail and the postal service. Is my memory right?
That's true. Yeah, they're doing everything through eBlast and nothing through the USPS.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting how quickly that changed? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that has definitely changed in the last, say 2 to 4 years.
Yeah.
Much more electronic.
Yeah, that's going to be the future as well.
Yeah.
So please, Daryl,
Yeah.
jump in with insights from the many annual year-end appeals that you have done to illuminate.
Okay. Well, if you've been a part of our webinars, you may have heard us talk some about a parish, an African-American parish in Atlanta, Our Lady of Lourdes. Father Jeffrey Ott is the priest at that parish. And we're involved in a capital campaign, but we've also helped them with annual stewardship. And we are right in the middle of their year-end ask. And we customized it with their capital campaign management team. They historically have had a Christmas letter from Father Ott that goes out to each parish family. This year, we did some of what Dennis had mentioned with this church, where it's more of a card that on one side, it's more of a note from Father Jeffrey, and it's very gentle, but it communicates the year-end ask, and that all of those offerings would go toward their capital campaign to build a new church. Then on the other side, it would be a schedule of Christmas activities as well as some more information about the year-end ask. That would then be mailed on December 14th. And then a few days later, social media posts would go up on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. There would also be a follow-up video before that actually would be blasted out that would just sort of personalize the note from Father Jeffrey. It would be from him. And then we would do text to give opportunities toward the end of that time frame. So they basically would have, by the time they would receive that card in the mail from the priest, they'd have almost 2 weeks to be able to get that in by the end of the year. So we're very excited about it. Very Christmas oriented, the mailing, colored envelope, red, green, or gold, and just really well done, but not pushy, but informative. And because of the giving spirit, we feel like that they have a really good opportunity of raising that 10% of what the parish would take in all year long.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. And it's interesting that the other campaign you told me about with Bishop Hunt that is not going to do any hard mail this year either.
Right.
I think that to me seems like a very sophisticated group of people in Bishop
Right.
Hunt Church, and
have a high number of parishioner or churchgoers who are on email. Very few, hard copy folks that would be missed in that. So
excellent. Okay, so let's take
we'll
a
let
look.
you know how that goes.
Very good. Thank you, Daryl. So let's take a quick look at our polling results. Are you planning or have you started a year-end appeal? 83%. If you answered yes to question 1, what percentage of your budget do you hope to raise with your year-end appeal? 1 to 5% is a pretty significant portion. 6 to 10% is our largest response, and 16% or greater is 8%. Okay, good. Well, so you and the people on this webinar have pretty high targets. So I'm glad that you have high targets. And I want to kind of set this in a big picture perspective. So yes, we want goal number 1 to raise 10% of our total revenue. But the more important one is goal 2 with these middle 2 bullets. We want to stimulate large gifts of assets. So for most people who give large gifts of assets, that is stock. It's appreciated stock. And it's not for everybody. Between 1% and 10% of your constituents have the capacity to make gifts of stock. And those people have been cultivated by their colleges, and their colleges have asked them over and over again to make significant gifts of assets. And we want to reframe our constituents' thinking that we're just as good as college. Now, just think about that macro view we talked about earlier. The average person gives to 5 nonprofit organizations. If they give to the church, they usually give half of all they're giving. Now, unfortunately, well, I shouldn't say that. Historically, the most professional solicitors in fundraising are universities, and they are bold and active in asking for large gifts of assets. So this is not a new topic to your lead donors. What is new is to reframe this so that they think my church is just as good as my college for large gifts of assets. Now, there's a ton of research. The minute you have that reframe and that shift of thinking, and you present those asks, not cash, but gifts of assets, the assets start to come in, and that changes the way your members think of giving to the church. Now, it's an odd statistic, but over 90% of all wealth is held in non-cash assets. So that's a whole new way of thinking. Think about that. Most, I can't say almost all, but over 90% of all assets are held in a non-cash state. Isn't that interesting? We spend almost all of our time asking for gifts of cash. So if we were perfectly rational, we would spend 90% of our time asking for gifts of assets. So I want to introduce this topic right now so that you introduce this topic to your members starting right now. Now, part of this comes as a result of our analysis of giving to churches and church capital campaigns. That's kind of our proving ground, our research ground. We do all this work to raise a ton of money for church capital campaigns. And then we want to share that whether or not somebody's going through a church capital campaign. And that's our stewardship system that we give away on a monthly basis. If you'd like to get that for free, just go to Church Development and click on the little button. We'll send you something every month that you can download and put immediately into your bulletins and your annual stewardship efforts, and it's all free. And it's very helpful. We have thousands of people benefiting from that every month. But this is a big thrust that we want to have a shift in the church world where the church world, occupies the top strata in the thinking of our members and not colleges. Okay, we want the first and the biggest gifts to go to the church. And I want you, the leader in the church, to reframe your thinking about gifts of cash versus gifts of assets. 80% of the wealth is held in less than 20% of our population. And yet we treat those people who hold those wealth as if they have an average income, and they don't. We need to lift their sights above their moribund ways. Okay, so I don't want to let this go. I'm going to move off of it, but I'm going to come back to it because I want you to ask repeatedly during the course of the year for lead gifts and to stimulate that in your church. The campaign I have just concluded north of San Francisco. We had one donor who gave $1 million, one who gave $250,000, and we had 5 donors who gave $500,000, and then we had about 400 donors give us another $500,000. And that top heavy, no longer a pyramid, maybe it's more like the Eiffel Tower. Leadership gifts is really the success to your church fundraising in the future. Okay, forgive me. I know I'm beating a dead horse. I'll move on. Goal number 3 is that this will help stimulate giving from your non-donors. Unfortunately, not everybody gives to their church. It ranges between half of members give to 2/3 of members give. So that means you probably have a pretty big cohort of people who are not active philanthropically. Giving them 4 different opportunities to give per year really does help. Okay, let's move on. Avoiding failure. And Daryl, I would welcome you to jump in on that. The worst failure is to do nothing. That is the absolute. We're going to present a half a dozen ways to ask and different technologies as well. The worst possible thing is to do nothing. You're leaving 10% of your budget on the table. If you only ask once, that's just like planting one seed in a garden. If you only present one way to do this, like I remember Daryl telling me about the Bishop Hunt that he is working with. And I just think they're so leading edge and out in front. They're just such innovators, and they don't rely on checks. I mean, and it was not that long ago that everything happened by check. I mean, there at Bishop Hunt's church, man, it is electronic, and that's the expectation. We'll all do that. So what would happen if in Bishop Hunt's church, if they only asked people to give by check, mail out an envelope and give by, you'd have a few gifts. You would lose out on 80%. So we really want to ask in more than one way at more than one time. At another church, I remember Daryl, I remember going to one of the churches you worked with, and I wanted to make a donation. I went to their website, and it was almost impossible to give. Matter of fact, I was working at one, the campaign was 3 years ago, and we were in our 3-year follow-up, and I wanted to make a donation. I go to their website, and I couldn't do it. I could not. And then I called the administrator, and she walked me through it. I still couldn't do it. It was beyond difficult to give.
Yeah, Dennis, we see that a lot in our work with consulting churches, is that we churches tend to make members or parishioners work a little too hard to find how they can give, and it is not a pleasant process. But with just a little bit of analyzation and tweaking, you can make that a lot more user friendly. So that's just a good tip. A good tip for all of us.
Right, make it easy. And I say copy success. Like go to the Red Cross website, go to their give tab. See, it is literally 2 steps. And most people who give through a website want to use a card. PayPal is a great option. Please don't complain about fees. Yes, you're going to pay, you might pay 3% of a fee, but you know what? You're getting a gift. So gift or no gift, I'd happily pay 3% to get a donation. So don't make it difficult. Make it as easy as humanly possible. Now, and one of the things,
Dennis,
yeah.
Sorry, Dennis, but along that line, in the last few years, when you get these points from, credit cards, that's a point of interest, especially for, those that are maybe 40 and under. I'm over 50. It's an important point to me. And so, people want to give by credit card so they can get the points. I mean, it's nothing wrong with that, but just to be aware of it. And you'll that 2 or 3% will take care of itself, that it costs to do it.
Yeah. Okay. The last failure to avoid is mentioning it at Christmas worship. Please mention it at Christmas worship. If you don't mention it, it's a failure. You're leaving donation money on the table. And we'll talk about the branding, and the branding should be super simple. It's just Merry Christmas. I love my church. Your church loves you. Your church is here for you. Please make a Christmas gift to your church. It's pretty simple.
Dennis, you made a point earlier in your presentation about that we all are inundated with asks this time of the year. And I think you'd agree with me that we see that it's easy for church leaders to kind of talk themselves out of making a year-end ask or a Christmas ask. It's like, they're being asked so much, I don't think we can just ask them one more thing. But it's such a giving time of the year. And as you mentioned earlier, Dennis, we're not really competing with these other entities that are asking. It's important to get the church in there, and folks will appreciate that, and they'll rise to the occasion. So just a word of positive encouragement. Hang in there and make your year-end ask.
Right. Thank you, Daryl. A lot of people don't know that only 5% of churchgoers tithe. The average Catholic gives 1.2%. The average Protestant gives 2.2% to their church. And everybody has tithing in their vernacular. And we have that largely unspoken invitation to give generously to the church. We know that when we do a church capital campaign, people approximately double their giving for 3 years. So we know an economist would call that elasticity in an economic relationship. So we know that it exists. Gallup Polling did a research project a couple years ago, discovered 5% in giving is kind of the ceiling and comfort level with most people. So if your people double their giving, they're probably still not coming anywhere near that 5% ceiling. So please use these statistics to benefit your church. Be bold. We're not asking for ourselves, we're asking for the church. So be bold, don't be shy. Okay, next one, branding the message. Make it simple, okay? Just say, hey, your church is here for you. Please make a Christmas gift to your church today. And here's how. So whether it's the letter, the email, or the video, it's going to be, please do it now. Here's how. So you have to have the call to action. So I myself, I'm 63. I read emails. I like emails. I kind of open all of them and read them. And if somebody's got a video in there, I'm sure going to do that. My personal favorite is an email message that has a video, and the video says the same thing as the text. And then right below the video is the call to action. I just click on a button to make my gift. That is my, I'm in that strata from between age 50 and 70 years old. Maybe it should be 75, where those are your most generous donors. And I think in this way, I might be kind of average. I also like Christmas cards, but we're going to propose a handful of different ways to ask, and the brand should be the same in each one of those. Your church is here for you. Please make a Christmas gift to your church. Please do it now. Here's how. Simple. So total simple. Now, in creating mechanisms for giving, if your church does not have a stockbroker who can serve the church by facilitating the receipt of gifts, then get one. Okay, please do that today. And you need to have an account. So you need to have a human being with a phone number, an email address, and your account number ready and available, and part of your messaging as well. So set that up in advance, because that small strata of people who can make leadership size gifts has a financial advisor that they have on the phone, that they email with on a regular basis. And what we want that leadership donor to do is to receive this email from the church and then just click on forward and send that to their financial advisor and say, please make this happen. Please give this stock, that many shares, that value. Here's the information, make it happen. We've got to be prepared. This mechanism has got to be in place. We also have to have a really quick and easy link that hopefully will take them to the website so I can give by card. Now, these are for mature adults. For people who are a little bit younger, they live by Venmo. Now, I have Venmo. I use it. I have not totally figured it out, but I have used it at least 50 times for transferring money, mainly back and forth to my kids through their college and school activities and friends. And they don't write checks to each other. That's the financial transfer mechanism for people who are age 35 and younger. For all of us, you need to have text to give set up, and there are 2 systems for that. Please set that up immediately. You've got to have a text to give that is just literally text a dollar amount to this number, and it'll come through your next phone bill. Or another text to give system is to create an account with a text to give company. I prefer the first because it's just a lot easier. Another mechanism, you've got to have a return envelope for checks. I myself prefer the business reply envelope. It has an indicia that's prepaid, whereas and it's expensive. But again, it's like the Visa fee. Who cares? Because it facilitates a gift. So it is approximately going to be twice the cost of a stamp, approximately. And the good thing is, there's a lot of research that says people like a business reply envelope because they can just put a check in and put it in the mail. They don't have to search around for a stamp. You know, I just happen to have a roll of stamps. Most of my life, I have not had a roll of stamp handy. So, and I've got to go search for it or go to the post office and buy some. So BRE really seems to help. The next wave is the church app. And that is a wave that every single one of us needs to start implementing at this moment. We want a church app so that your person can pick it up just like Amazon or eBay or anything else. They can pick up their phone and they can go to what's happening in my church with a single touch. And then there's a real quick hit here to make a gift. The church app is the way of the future. And I'm going to say about only 10% of all churches have the church app now, but please start working on this. Plan to get it done in 2021.
Dennis, we have
Yes.
a question for you.
Yes.
The question starts, our diocese processes all of our stock gifts. Currently, donors fill out a form and email it in, but it often takes us weeks and tons of follow-up to receive a confirmation. Any suggestions?
Yes. The diocese has your best interest at heart. And the reason that they do that is because most parishes do not have a mechanism in place. It is an alien subject to them. My recommendation is to ask your finance committee to step up to the plate to put this into place so that you can then communicate to the diocese, thank you for your offer. We don't need your help. We have a system in place. There was a seismic shift in the Catholic Church just in the last couple of years, where now local parishes are their own independent 501c3 nonprofit organizations in many dioceses, not all dioceses. But when I say seismic shift, that's an understatement. So individual churches are now becoming distinct, separate entities from their diocesan organization. And this then lends itself to you establishing your own independent mechanism for giving. So I would take steps towards that, and then I would inform the diocese that that is what you have done. And they might come back heavy-handed. I hope not. I hope they will be supportive of you, knowing that the rising tide lifts all boats. All right. Well, please, if we have other interesting questions, jump in, Stephanie. Thank you for that question. The last one I'm just going to throw out because it's bizarre. This Bitcoin idea. I'm taking a workshop on this. I think tomorrow. It's a bizarre concept, this Bitcoin thing, but I want to learn about it. And some people who are into it are really into it. And I want my church to grow and be healthy. And I would accept the donation of a boat, even though I lived in a desert. So if somebody wants me to give us Bitcoin, I'm going to figure out a way to accept that. You know, it's grown in value so dramatically from nothing to something big. I want to be prepared. Maybe we'll cover that in a future webinar after I learn a thing or two. All right, Daryl, do I need to cover anything else before we move off of mechanisms for giving?
No, I think that's great. Very comprehensive and a lot of good ideas. Some things that we may have already known, but definitely stretched us into areas that we want to consider.
Okay. All right. Let's shift off of mechanism. So using technology and social media, it's just very important that we in the church world have got to become very competent at technology and social media. The rest of the nonprofit sector is becoming very adept at using technology and social media. So putting the year-end ask on your website, texting, video from the pastor, social media, Facebook, Instagram, whether or not you like Twitter, it's important that we use Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat. We've got to really do a full court press so that we meet people where they are. Now, I'm going to spend a little more time later with my favorite technology, which is the tailored video, second from the bottom, BombBomb. I advocate that you pay a person to become an expert in technology and social media. The return on investment is spectacular. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I just want to encourage you, please be comfortable and use technology and social media for raising funds. You're meeting people where they are. Now, this personalized video message, to me, it will make a spectacular impact if the pastor can look into the camera and send a personalized message. And this product is called BombBomb. It costs about $40 per month, and it allows the user to literally click and create a personalized video and then send it. And you can do 3 of those per minute. So if I'm a stewardship person in a parish, I want to have this product and then instruct my pastor. I'm going to give the pastor a script and say, click here, read this script, and then click send. And it's not, the amazing thing is that is easy. So literally, if I send an email to Daryl, he's going to see a video is attached with my face on it. He's going to click on it, and I'm going to say, hi, Daryl. It's Dennis. I wish I was there with you. Hope you're having a great Christmas season. Thank you so much for your support of the parish this past year. Thank you for volunteering, and thank you for your generous giving. I'd like to ask you to make a year-end Christmas gift to the parish. The parish is here for you, as you have been here for the parish in your many volunteer roles in the past. So thank you, and God bless. Have a great Christmas. Okay, that's a 20-second message, and I said Daryl's name a couple of times. That might have never happened in a person's whole life. And for a pastor to reach out and make that connection, it's enormous. This is part of the reframing of the way you think about your leadership gifts. It would be very normal for us when we run a church capital campaign to have one donor who gives 10% of all the money that we raise. The next 10 donors to the church capital campaign might give 4% each, for a total of 40% from that giving strata. So just from the top 11 donors, we might get 50% of all the funds raised. So how should we communicate with those top 11 donors? I would propose that you enlist this BombBomb service. I have no economic relationship with them. I just really think it's a good technology so that you can send personalized video message to your top 11 donors. And you should do it numerous times during the course of the year, as well as your year-end ask.
Dennis?
Is there a free trial that comes with BombBomb?
Yes, right. You could enlist their free trial right this second and get your 2 weeks free for your year-end ask. That's a great idea, Daryl. Great. Yes, Stephanie, you had a question.
Yeah, we have a question from Dave. He asked, can parishes create an in-house text rather than having to get a separate vendor like Flocknotes?
Yes, you could. You could, and there are several text fundraising companies that exist, like Text to Give. So you do not need to use Flocknotes. You can retain a text giving only company. And I myself, I'm a big fan. I like those. I like that they have a very narrow but deep level of expertise in text to give technology and systems. And again, we've got to, in the church world, we've got to get our game on. We've got to act more business-like. So if you look at the return on investment for paying a firm like Text to Give, and the money that you get out of just one single Text to Give campaign, the return on investment is spectacular. In the secular world, an annual campaign costs between 20 and 30% of all the funds that are raised. In a church capital campaign, the historical average for all capital campaigns is to spend $1 and to raise 10. Now, our average is better than that. In the past 100 church capital campaigns we've run, our return on investment is 25 to 1. So can you make a good business case for taking a professional approach to asking? Yes, any business person in the world would love to have a 10 to 1 return on investment. And a Text to Give firm, the cost is going to be in the single digits for generating a lot of money. Thank you, Stephanie. Now, I'm seeing the screen pop up. Do we have more questions that are related to this that we should address, Stephanie?
Yeah, Dennis, we have another question from Dave. We use Vanco for web donations and text to give, but they seem a bit cumbersome to use. That is, you have to usually set up a profile with your card info, et cetera. Is that still the standard?
I don't think it should be the standard. I think text to give should be the easiest thing on planet Earth. We should have the ability for a person to receive a text ask and to just reply with a dollar amount. It should be that easy, and we should not have the requirement for a profile to be created. The profile creation in Vanco is dependent upon the assumption that these donors are going to be regular givers, and we would already have a relationship. They would have filled out the form already. And that's a pretty good assumption for between 1/2 and 2/3 of your members. But what about the 1/2 to 1/3 that are not regular donors? We might even want to stratify as the church fundraising world becomes more sophisticated. We might want to have 2 different messages. One, text to give to people for whom we have an account set up, and a whole different system set up for people with whom we do not have a formal relationship of giving. They have not filled out the account data. And that is what needs to be really easy. Your non-donors, it needs to be really easy. Now, the future, I think, is going to be like Daryl's sophisticated client with Bishop Hunt, where it's just part and parcel. Everybody is online. Everybody is connected electronically. They represent the future. And the rest of us are a couple years behind that. So those of us who are not up to par have really got to get our game on and make it easy. Make it very easy. Daryl, am I covering everything?
Yes, it's great.
Okay.
Just keep going in our remaining time. You're doing great.
Okay. All right. We got a couple more minutes. On the video ask, the video message from the pastor. So we want this to go out connected to the email, and the ideal sequence is that you get the Christmas card, you get social media entries, you get the email with the video before Christmas and the email with the video after Christmas, the same exact one, and then the text to give at the end. So this video ask, we know that 70% of emails with videos get opened. So it behooves you to do that. So create a video and include it in this. And it's got to be simple. Okay, it's got to be simple. It has got to have the call to action. So we don't need to explain the myriad ways that we will spend the money that you're donating. It's just got to be joyful and full of gratitude. Merry Christmas. 2020 is over. We survived. Hallelujah. And 2021 is going to be great. Your church is here for you. We together are this spiritual family. And I'd like to ask you to make a Christmas gift to the church. Consider the church to be just a member of your family, just like you're a member of the church family. If you could click on the link below, you could make a gift right now. So we want to repeat, do it now, do it today. Or if you'd like, you can forward the stock transfer information below to your financial advisor to get that in motion right now. Now, just last night, I was meeting with a church in Denver, and one of the people on the stewardship committee sent me a note from their stockbroker. He was preparing to make a stock gift. And the message from the stockbroker was, we would really like gifts of stock to arrive in our office by the 15th. And after that, we can only guarantee that they will be processed as they come in. And I thought that's actually a little bit funny, because you can't control a donor's timing for their generosity. We will accept their money at any time that they give us. So I'm not going to dissuade somebody from giving if they can't get it in by the 7th. I'm going to say to them, give it now, give it as soon as you can. And by golly, we'll take it at any point that we receive this. So do it now, get it moving, and we will be very grateful when that comes in. So So please just plan on doing a video ask. Okay, so our next webinar. So before we go on to our next webinar, let me ask Stephanie, do we have any remaining questions that we ought to address?
We do not have any right now.
Okay, great. All right, so before we conclude, I want to thank you for attending today's webinar, and thank you for attending all of our webinars. We're going to do this, we have been doing this about once per month through 2020, and we've received lots of affirmative responses on the material that we offer. If you've got suggestions on topics that you would like to see us cover, please let me know. These slides are available to you, and we're also available all the time for a phone call or an email. And the church development exists just to help churches grow and prosper financially. And we've raised around $1 billion in doing this, and it's spanned over 30 years. And we read a great deal. We study success, we study failure, and we're willing to give it away to you for free. So when you think about a church capital campaign in the future, please call or email us and allow us to give you a bid, allow us to give you a sales pitch. It's what we do for a living, and that funds our greatest hobby, which is sharing with you these stewardship resources. So thank you so much for joining us. Daryl, any last comments before we
Dennis,
conclude?
I do have a question that popped up.
Okay, fire away.
The question is, do we provide our broker name, company, DTC, and our account number when?
Right. And their email address and their phone number, so that I, as the donor, can forward it to my broker. My broker can call or email and has all that information. So we want to just load up all that information, so it's super easy for a person to make a gift. And in addition, I would put the church business administrator's name and phone number in there as well. So if there's any glitches, they have a person to call who has handled gifts of stock before.
Thank you. And I just have one more thing I'd like to add. Our next webinar will be January 13th, 2021, and that's Wednesday, 11 o'clock Central. And we'll be talking about preparing for a capital campaign in a post-COVID world.
Oh, great. Great. Well, thank you very much. With all this talk about the vaccines arriving, my hope is by springtime, a little bit of normalcy will have returned. And I know there are many churches with a pent-up demand for a church capital campaign. So we've got to conduct ourselves just a little bit differently, because we'll be taking these tentative steps, getting ready for the post-COVID world, which I can't wait for. Thank goodness. Daryl, any last comments before we go?
I'd just like to ask our attendees, let us know how your year-end ask goes. Send us email, let us celebrate your success. If other questions crop up, let us know. We want to be a part of what you're doing with this topic.
Right. And we have all these free resources we can give you. If we can help you in any way, give us a call or send us an email. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Go forth, good luck, and God bless in 2021. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thanks, Stephanie.